Everyone, remain calm.
Yeah, that's how it always starts. But then later there's running and screaming.
Somebody talk to me! What is happening?
Welcome to Jurassic World.
You're listening to the Jurassic Park Podcast.
You want to consult here or in my bungalow? Hold on to your butts.
Well, we're back.
Hello and welcome to the 60th episode of the Jurassic Park Podcast. I'm your host, Brad Jost, and we're here to discuss all things Jurassic Park. In this episode, we've got a ton of great news for you. If you missed out on all the recent updates online, you're in for a treat with everything we have in a news segment this week. We also have a great chat with podcast regular Jennifer Terek, where we attempt to answer and discuss some of the unanswered questions throughout the Jurassic Park series. It was a really fun chat, so you won't want to miss it. We also have something we announced last Friday. We'll have a better chat about it coming up in the coming weeks, but stay tuned in this episode for a quick commercial on that announcement. Aaron Beyer, who you heard a few episodes back, and I have a cool thing planned for you, so make sure to join in on the fun. But before we get too ahead of ourselves, why don't we get things started off with a bit of Jurassic news from around the world.
18 minutes and your company catches up on 10 years of research.
Access me program. Access me security.
These pictures were taken in hospital in Costa Rica 48 hours ago.
I don't want to jump to any conclusions, but look.
Boy, do I hate being right all the time.
Today, I guarantee it.
First off, in the biggest news week in a while, was the very sudden announcement of Hasbro losing the license to the Jurassic Park property. After I discovered a financial tweet, I did a bit of research and found an article on the Wall Street Journal stating that the Jurassic World toy line was causing a significant drop in performance for boys' toys, along with the cliff note that Hasbro couldn't reach a deal with Universal to renew the toy line in 2017. Talk about burying the lead. Geez, it really took me by surprise, but an even bigger surprise came the very next day when Mattel announced that it would be taking over the line once Hasbro's deal expires in 2017. So yes, Mattel was probably only the logical response to Hasbro falling through, but it still took the community by surprise. Let's hope the Mattel toy line significantly surpasses what we received from Hasbro over the past few years. You'll find a full article on our website, along with a great chat about the Hasbro announcement with Jay Jurassic. So the Jurassic Outpost stumbled upon the working title for Jurassic World 2. If you don't know what a working title is, it's basically just a title for the production that they use to cover their tracks. If they went around using Jurassic World 2 as their working title, everybody would know what they're up to. So in this case, they are using the working title Ancient Futures. Now before you start judging it or going too crazy, this most likely bears no consequence on the outcome of the plot. Like I said before, it's a title used for production purposes only, so don't expect this to be a subtitle. Hopefully we get an announcement on the actual title coming up sometime soon. You'll find a link to Jurassic Outpost's article in our show notes. Chronicle Collectibles headed out to San Diego Comic-Con this past weekend to show off their work and debut a bunch of new items. You absolutely need to check out these things if you haven't seen the pics already. And if you don't know, Chronicle creates high-quality statues, maquettes, and prop replicas that are near identical to their counterparts. On the show floor, they had a few raptor busts and a T-Rex bust, their Stegosaurus maquette, and the T-Rex breakout statue. But they also had the newly revealed Barbasol Cryocan, a Compy maquette, prop replica night vision goggles that Timmy tried on himself, an Owen and Blue statue, an awesome taller Owen figure, and the best part, an insanely detailed Alan Grant figure. Now the Grant figure comes with 2 heads. Like I said, you absolutely need to see these things, so head to the link in our show notes to check them out on sci-fi.com. Back over on Jurassic Outpost, they revealed, along with Real News Hawaii, that Jurassic World 2 will be beginning production on February 27th, 2017. And the best part is, it's beginning in Hawaii. Come on, did you actually think we wouldn't get a glimpse of the island again? Now, whether this is filming for Nublar or Sorna, we don't know, but I'm glad we get to spend a little bit more time on the islands. It really wouldn't be Jurassic without it. My hope is that they show a bit of the aftermath on Nublar and possibly even reintroduce Sorna. I have a much bigger story in mind for this film, but I'm going to keep that part to myself just in case we utilize it sometime soon. You'll find a link to Jurassic Outpost's article in our show notes. Recently, Frank Marshall, producer of Jurassic World, chatted with Steven Weintraub of Collider.com about the pre-production for the sequel to Jurassic World. Here's what he had to say.
We're in pre-production. In fact, I just got back from London meeting with Juan Antonio and the production designer. We're designing. He's doing the storyboards. We're in full-bore pre-production to start shooting sometime early next spring. As a director, Bayona has his input, but Colin and Derek are writing the script. So there have been numerous meetings, and we have the new template for the movie. Of course, he's putting his own ideas and taking ownership of it, but it's pretty much the original story they came up with. We set the bar pretty high. For me, it's always about story. As long as the action sequences move the story forward, that's what's important. I think we're just having to look and see how we can involve the characters in the story with whatever dinosaurs we have in the action sequences. It's a challenge, but it's a healthy challenge.
So I think it sounds like they were moving in the right direction when it comes to the sequel. He seems to make a point about discussing the story, which is a really good thing. Bayona seems to have a bit of input, but he's directing what Trevorrow and Connolly put on the page. I'm sure they picked the perfect director to bring this script to life. Make sure to find the link to Collider's chat with Frank Marshall in our show notes. Alright, so sorry if the quality is bad on this one right here. I'm actually on vacation and I'm sitting in my car recording on my phone, but the news just kept rolling in, so I had to report it. Back over at San Diego Comic-Con, comic publisher IDW announced at their latest panel that they will be releasing new comics for the Jurassic series. Now this info comes from bleedingcool.com. It says,
and that includes a return to Jurassic Park with Jurassic World comics coming from IDW and based on the recent remake movie and scheduled for 2017. It's too early to state creative teams, but not too early to state that there will be no feathers.
So while this is all relayed from their reporter, I wish they had reported what was actually said, but all we have are these comments to live by. Not sure why this reporting mentions Jurassic World as a recent remake, but we all know it wasn't a remake. And the no feathers business, I'm okay with it, but that's only for now. I still see them doing that actually in the future. I'll include a link to the report in the show notes, but really there's no further information at this time. This next one again comes from the guys at Jurassic Outpost. It looks like the sequel will be filming in Wales. Now, they uncovered that there's a potential that they'll be filming at the Pinewood Studios Wales location. As they state in the article, yes, the countryside is beautiful and would make for some great new scenery in a JP film, but it seems more likely that they'll be just shooting at this Pinewood Studios location. We'll see. So far, the shooting information that has come in has been partially speculative on everybody's behalf, as we don't seem to know how they will be utilizing these locations just yet. I, for one, am very interested to find out. You'll find a link to Jurassic Outpost article in our show notes. So in the final day of our insane news week, I actually believe we got something new each and every day so far. Today, we saw Mondo release a new San Diego Comic-Con exclusive poster featuring the Mosasaurus dragging down the Indominus Rex, furthering that scene that we saw at the end of Jurassic World. It's an absolutely stunning piece of work, but certainly interesting that they chose to feature the concept art version of the Innovation Center instead of the version that we got in the film. Maybe it wasn't good research by artist Shang Zhang, or maybe it was a purposeful addition adding to the inaccurate lore of Jurassic World Comic-Con posters. Either way, it's still a beautiful poster that I really wish I could have gotten. Sadly, items like this are typically unavailable. They're only usually available at Comic-Cons or through eBay, which is usually priced at more than they're actually worth. Anyway, I'll include a picture of the poster in our show notes.
Oh, there it is. There it is.
Brought to you by Mattel Toy Makers. You can tell they're Mattel. They're swell.
We've partnered up with friend of the podcast, Aaron Beyer, to create a great opportunity to let Mattel know how much the Jurassic Park toy line means to us. We're putting together a video, complete with members of the Jurassic community, to show our love for the past toy lines. All you need to do is film a 15 to 20 second video with your phone, congratulate Mattel on obtaining the Jurassic license, and let them know exactly how much you love the Jurassic toy line. Don't forget to let them know what you want to see from the Mattel toy line. Keep it clean and remember not to bash any prior toy manufacturers. We have a few rules on our website, so find the post on JurassicParkPodcast.com for more information. We'll be accepting video submissions until August 1st. We'd love to see you join in.
Thank God for Site B.
Site B?
Yes, Site B.
No force on earth or heaven get me on that island.
Site B, don't worry. I'm not making the same mistakes again.
Come on, wait. Okay, so there's another island with dinosaurs, no fences.
Site B.
And you want to send people in?
Yes.
Very few people.
Yes.
It's not a research expedition anymore. It's a rescue operation, and it's leaving right now.
You cannot land on this island.
This is Isla Sorna. Site B.
Yes.
We're on Isla Sorna, and we need to talk to the boat.
Site B.
No, the lady. Enough. Wrong frequency.
So, after rummaging through this downed airplane that I found here on Site B, I came across Jennifer Terek just wandering along by herself. I figured I'd press record on the podcast here. How's it going, Jen?
It's going good. You don't want to know how that airplane went down, though.
I don't know. I'm pretty sure there's a movie about it, maybe a third movie or so. But
but it's unknown. No one really knows. It's like an unanswered question. You know?
No, but that's what we're going to talk about here today is all the unanswered questions when it comes to this series. And there's 4 films, there's loads of questions, and tons of stuff for the community to debate about. And I've seen it go on for hours on end at times, and I'm sure you have too. So there's tons of stuff to talk about.
Yeah, I didn't even think of the 4th movie, really. There's so many in the first.
Yeah, exactly.
And third, I didn't even get to the 4th. But I'm sure something will pop in my head as we go along.
I know, and the problem is, the only thing is we probably won't be able to answer any of these questions too well.
Because they're
That's
unknown.
Also a problem. So they're just things that are at least outstanding in our minds, like things that maybe just didn't get wrapped up in a certain movie here or there. And we reached out to a lot of people on the social medias to find out what you guys thought as well. So we'll probably weave those in as we go through our own. So why don't you start off first, Jen?
Oh, okay. I always wondered, because, they clone the dinosaurs, how did they get the extinct plants cloned? Like, how did they have historic plants, prehistoric plants?
Yeah, you're right. I don't know. I mean, were they in the amber? I can't imagine. I'm not sure.
They never explain that, because it's cool. It's a cool idea, and I really like that idea, and I really like that discussion. But I was thinking, how on earth do you get plant DNA? Like, what? How does that work?
Well, here's the thing. I don't know. I can't remember if anything like this was covered in the book. So a lot of the stuff that we're talking about here is specifically film related. So, at times the book maybe covers things like this, but I haven't read it in so long. It's been a while. It's been maybe 4 or 5 years or so, and stuff like that just like slips out of my mind so easily.
Yeah, and I don't read, so I don't really own a book.
Yeah, I have the audio versions now ready to listen to at any time, but it's just finding that time to listen to them because they're like so long. They're like 13, 15 hours long.
It's an audio of a book. See, that doesn't work. I can't do it. The book ain't gonna happen. This is just movie.
But what you had brought up about the plants and everything, I think it's an interesting question and something that I've talked about with people in the community, because a lot of people bring up why the islands look so very different compared to each movie. Like if you look at Jurassic Park, the original movie is very lush and jungle, and it looks like it looks basically like Hawaii, everything you'd expect. But then you go to the Lost World, and there's a lot of like redwood forests and different stuff like that. So it switches back and forth, and it's got these different aspects of forests and plants that you wouldn't necessarily expect. So one of the kind of conclusions that I've come to in my mind is that InGen engineered them this way. So they've done it with dinosaurs. They've created their own looks and everything with the dinosaurs. Why can't they do it with their plants? So if they're doing it with this small plant that Allie picked up in the beginning of the movie, why can't they do it with a full environment, a full full forest or something like that? So that's always something that I've explained away.
How did they do it with the first plant then, or
I don't know.
First teeny little plant?
No, that's the unexplainable part.
Yeah. Yeah, like how do you even, I guess maybe you could grow them so they look a certain way, but then they wouldn't have the same attitude, I guess, as older plants would. I don't know. They'd just be hybrid, regular, modern day plants that look like prehistoric plants.
And I mean, Ellie is the scientific one to go to, so she knows exactly what she's talking about. And she says that they've been extinct, and they've been extinct.
Yeah.
That's the plant that she was looking at. It wasn't a fake or something that looked similar. It was the one that she thought was extinct. So it's very interesting, and I don't know how they did it in terms of the movie, because they didn't explain it. They just said that they have these things, but they didn't, have a nice cartoon video to explain the plants.
that was probably after the lab section. That came next.
Yes, it was. Absolutely. You're probably right, because if they weren't, a bunch of jerks and got off the ride, they would have found out.
Yeah, and we all would have known, and
Yeah.
we wouldn't be asking that question.
So I'm going to bring up one of my questions here. It's basically a uniform question, and I don't really know that it matters all that much, but whatever happened to the Barbasol can? That's just something that everybody wonders, and everybody hopes is taken into consideration in a future movie, but at this point, it really doesn't matter, unless they do a flashback. That's the only way it could work.
Yeah, they kind of missed it, I have to say. I mean, if they were going to bring it back, I know a lot of people wanted it for Jurassic World to even be brought up or anything, but it didn't fit with that story, so I get it. But they kind of missed their opportunity. By now, it's shifted a whole other way. They have other problems. I don't think that's ever going to get back. So I guess it just got in the mud, and now 50 years from now, when someone goes digging, they'll find it.
They'll find it there. Yeah, see, that's the thing. It really doesn't matter, because if somebody did find it 50 years later, it would be just a Barbasol can with some embryos that have expired. They only had 36 hours, I believe, to stay alive. So there's no point, really. So unless they did a flashback where, say in Jurassic World 2, for instance, the movie opens up kind of reliving that moment where Nedry, lost it. And then after he dies, somebody kind of drives in and takes it and finds it and uses it. But that'd be the only way. And we did see something like that in the Telltale Jurassic Park game. But like I said, we're kind of just sticking to the movie canon here.
Well, now, did Henry Wu go and get the can? Is that how he got all this popularity in the last movie here? Is that how he got his position?
That would be interesting.
He's like, hey, all this stuff was destroyed, but I got the can.
I saved it.
I know. I got this. This is how Jurassic World's possible.
I don't know, but something like that has kind of plagued the fans, and everybody has always wished to see it again. But I don't really think it's going to happen, but it would be interesting to use in a flashback of some sort. Or
just have it somewhere. Just like a little nod. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know people really want to see that. And I mean, it would be nice to see. Little something.
I did get a bunch of people. Let's see here. Let me just scroll through. Here on Instagram, I believe this is Zimbabwe. It's spelled Zymbobbwea. Did anybody ever uncover the Barbasol can? So like we said, as far as we know, no. But if you take into consideration that video game, maybe, it works. But as far as the film goes, nobody did. But I'm surprised, actually, that not more people went with that question. Because I've seen it around for years, but I guess people got tired of it.
That's probably it. They're like, well, it's in the mud. I guess that's it.
Yeah. So what else do you got here?
Well, we can go along with the Henry Wu thoughts. And whenever they were in the lab in the first one, when they were looking at the baby raptor, he kept erasing something and then writing down, and then erasing every scene. He was erasing. What was he doing? What was he erasing?
I don't know. He's very meticulous with that pencil. He's lifting it up off the page and questioning everybody. You think the dinosaurs can breed? And he's like, it's so funny. I don't know, but who knows? He could have been, creating the next DNA sequence that would have been completely flawed.
Or he's doodling a dinosaur or something.
Yeah,
it's that's not right. I'm going to draw that better.
I need to see that. Somebody on YouTube has to do this. They have to take the footage from that scene and then shoot their own footage of somebody writing, drawing a terrible looking Indominus Rex. It's his early planning stage.
Yes.
23 years in advance. He's like, John, D-Rex? No, I don't think so. I-Rex, there it is.
My goal's at the top of the paper. And then he'll like, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
He'll put like T-Rex plus Raptor plus, what else can I use? Well, cuttlefish plus, and then just add them all in, and then equal, and then draw his little Indominus.
Yeah. Oh, that would be fantastic. Somebody needs to do this.
That's what he was probably erasing. He's like, well, that's not right.
Yeah. So I have one, and it's, let's kind of like entangle two here. People want to know about the Spinosaurus, and I want to know about the Spinosaurus. First off, I wanted to know where the thing went at the end of the movie. Towards the end, they shoot the flare at it, the thing trots off, and you never see it again. And it's such a shame we didn't get to see any kind of wrapped up storyline with that animal. But a lot of people are wondering about the same thing. They're wondering that, but also, what about it was special, or why was it on a certain list? So let's see here. Actually, this one is not exactly where I'm going with it. I just noticed this one. But Ray Nat Allen on Twitter says, did the infant Rex from the Lost World grow up to be the bull that was killed by the Spinosaurus in JP3? That's an interesting one as well.
Yeah, I think I've heard that before.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's definitely a theory going around, and a super sad one if you take that in consideration.
I know, which makes it even worse.
Yeah, but
really
at the same time, all the people that say, like, that are up in arms about the Rex losing to it, maybe the Rex was a little wounded still, and it didn't have the full power it needed to beat that Spinosaurus. So that's one aspect you can take, out of this for a good thing. But let's see. I also have... Where did it go? Sorry, I'm kind of just scrolling through all these different answers here. All right, so here on Instagram, Klingon007JP says, I'm sure there is no official answer to this, but what was the benefit for InGen to keep the Spinosaurus off their list? Grant brought it up, but it was never talked about afterwards. I mean, to keep that off the list means that there must be something about it that they didn't want people to know about, right?
Yeah, we really don't know a lot about that dinosaur anyway. Very little. It just showed up, and they told us that it was big and bad and worse than T-Rex, apparently, but we really don't know anything. Yeah. It's a fish, though. It swims, too.
Yeah, so and the thing is, a lot of people, look at that the way it is represented in the movie, and they know it's different than the way it really was. So we have those two aspects to look at. So maybe if it's different than it's supposed to be, maybe they were kind of fooling around with the DNA. So I kind of like to, maybe we should just call this episode a headcanon episode where we just create our own ideas based off of all these questions. But that's kind of one of the things here with this point is I've always assumed that Jurassic World and Jurassic Park 3 connect more than we actually realize. And maybe the Spinosaurus was one of the first ones that they were testing all these hybrid aspects on.
So what you're saying is Henry Rue's first little paper he was erasing, it wasn't the Indominus, it was the Spinosaurus.
It was the Spinosaurus, yeah, exactly.
Point made.
So they're trying to create, a meaner, nastier, more teeth kind of animal, and they end up testing all this stuff on the Spinosaurus, and they realize that things went way wrong, and that thing was a total beast. It was out of control, stronger than it ever should have been, more crazy, and that's not something you could bring into a theme park, right?
Well, the Indominus is the same way. Like they were trying to. It is,
but honestly, I think the Spinosaurus could destroy the Indominus, in my opinion.
I don't know how do they rank with size? I don't even know. I'd love to see them next to each other.
I think the Spino was bigger,
But the Indominus has those claws and like the grabby hands.
Yeah, they're very different. I don't
know.
The
grabby hands, I think, win.
I think you might be right. The Indominus does have all these different aspects that could make it win, but I still think the Spinosaurus was like way scarier of a creature and more ferocious even.
He had like more bulk to him. I could sit on him, I guess.
Yeah. And it beat a T-Rex, so we have that to look at. The Indominus basically beat a T-Rex, but got lucky. The T-Rex got lucky, but who knows? I mean, I tend to think that the Spinosaurus was one of those early tests for the hybrid aspect of dinosaurs.
I really like that idea.
Yeah,
I really like that.
Me too, because you get to see that lab sequence where they're walking through and it's creepy, and then you see the raptor head pop up, but in that sequence, you see all these like test tube dinosaurs and stuff, and all these different aspects. It looks like they're kind of creating like hybrid dinosaurs, and it's very much what you see in Jurassic World in the labs.
Okay, so, what's your theory then on how they connect? Like, what happened in that time between when this lab in Jurassic Park 3 got all abandoned and ripped apart? How did they transition into Jurassic World? Like, what happened in that time?
Well, it was obviously loads of years. I think it was, it was like 2001 to whenever, 2005?
I think it's 2005, yeah.
Yeah, so...
It was open 10 years already.
Yeah, so 2005, like, all right, maybe it's not that long, not loads of years, but from that time, they could have just picked right up where they left off after things went wrong and the hurricane wiped out that island. So I can't imagine they'd abandon all their work that they were doing.
So they must have came back, killed the Spinosaurus, cleaned everything up, and started over. Well, with what they knew, I guess.
That's another one, and I actually do have a question here. Let's see. Richard Everson on Twitter says, "How did they contain and capture the assets when building Jurassic World, especially the Rex?" And like you said, I don't know, like how they did that. Even on Sorna, how did they? Or maybe they didn't do anything. We don't really know what happened on that island yet. We don't know if that's cleaned up at all. That still could be the preserve where nothing's touched. They let that one roam free. Mm-hmm. But as far as the other island goes, at least maybe they did kind of escape with a lot of their work before the hurricane came, and they started up in 2000 or they had to start years in advance of 2005 to get this park running. So it really wouldn't have been too much of a gap in time.
No, now Henry came over and got all that stuff beforehand. Yeah. Collected it, put it with his little Barbasol can collection. He's like, I'm going to make this. I'm going to contact the military. I'm going to get this park running.
Yeah.
Whatever his goal in life is, we don't know. I guess we'll find out in the next one. I don't really know what his life goal is. Money, I don't know. Power, creation, I don't know. But whatever it is, he has a little can. He's just going at the back end of every one of these movies and picking up the leftovers. And making a collection in his little lab, and then Jurassic World happens. Yeah. And he's like, look, I did it. I collected everything after all 3 disasters.
Yeah, well, we know he didn't go around the island lassoing dinosaurs and reestablishing a park. So he had to do his work other ways.
Yeah. Well, unless he did catch the Spinosaurus and he has it, like, in his backyard.
That would be a treat. Just licking his pool, like drinking out of his pool.
Yeah.
But I don't know. As far as containing and capturing all these assets on Isla Nublar, I mean, we saw them do it before. It worked. It technically worked when they were doing it on Sorna, in the Lost World, until Nick Van Owen came and kind of ruined the plan. So it was working. So they actually had all the equipment, all those kinds of vehicles with the capture harnesses and the giant clamp looking thing and the nets and all that stuff. So all they'd have to do is just send another load down there and do it again, and much more protected this time.
Yeah, I think they could do it. I mean, if Jurassic World happened and they got them all where they're supposed to be, I think that kind of shows they're capable of it. Mm-hmm. They were able to collect everything.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd really love to see that, though. That's one story that I think everybody wants to see, whether it's in the form of a comic or a book or, even a cartoon of some sort. I don't think they'll ever do it actually on film unless they had a Netflix show. But it's something everybody wants to see, for sure.
Yeah, I know that's a big question that's been out there for a long time. And it keeps building on the question because every time a movie comes out, you still don't have resolution for that same old question. How do they get them?
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So do you have any others?
I have 4 more. I'm gonna wait on that one because I bet someone else asked it, so I'm gonna wait. But how about who was the little kid in the first movie and why was he there? Like, okay, it's a good plot point, and sure, he hates dinosaurs. He's in the middle of Montana in the dirt. Are his parents there? Is he working? Like, he's not. Is he not in school? Like, why is he there?
That's actually a hilarious question. I don't know. Because, yeah, you're right. Like, he starts to get reprimanded after he speaks up, and no parent comes forward, like, to say, kid, stop talking. What are you doing? Just don't say that. Nobody says anything to him.
And while he's getting scarred for life, nobody says, hey, stop telling my kid these things.
Yeah, don't, come on, Alan, don't scare my kid. What are you doing? Like, don't claw his stomach like that. That's creepy.
And no one even comes over to him, like, after he's already scarred.
Nope, just
Alan
stand
walks away
there
and he's
take
like,
it.
all by himself. And he's like, who do you belong to?
Okay.
Why are you even there? It makes no sense.
That is a really good question. You know, I was looking at that scene the other day when I was watching, and I was just kind of looking at all the people around, you know, Alan and Ellie. There's so many people there. They're all wearing flannel, which is awesome. They all look like I do today. Yeah.
Denim.
But who are they all? And are they, I'm assuming a lot of them are probably students and stuff like that. Because isn't that what they were doing in Jurassic Park 3? Wasn't there some students there and Billy was helping teach the girl?
Yeah, that's right.
So, I assume a lot of them are students, but that doesn't equate for why there's a child there. Unless it's like
in the middle of
summer camp, just so happened to go to Montana to check out some bones.
Summer camp of one. Summer.
Yeah.
Like, if there was a group of kids, okay. They were touring it, they were learning. No, one kid.
One guy.
I don't know. Like, who? Why is he there? Why does his parents let him go there by himself? I don't know.
I don't know, but he's a brave kid. He looks at a raptor and he doesn't think it's scary. So I'm sure a kid like that would just be like, "Hey, Mom, Dad, I'm gonna go to this thing. It's down the road. I'm gonna take your car.
I'm just gonna follow these people and just watch from afar."
Yeah, I don't know. That's a really good question. Where did this kid come from?
Yeah,
something we'll never know, unfortunately.
Right, unless he's Owen. Now
that's one of those theories as well. Is maybe he is. Who knows? Like, maybe he grew up, and I think at one point I put together this little funny image of him transforming into Owen. But that would be hilarious if that actually was him.
I know, that would be. I don't know how I feel about it. I kind of like it. I can't see that kid growing up to be Chris Pratt, but
no.
I like the idea. I think that's creative.
Yeah. So at that point, Alan scares this kid to death, and he decides, look, I gotta shape up my life here. I'm not gonna get around anywhere just saying things are dumb, and that doesn't look very scary. I need to go to an actual summer camp where I can learn some military tactics, and then I'll go to the military, train with the Navy SEALs, and become Chris Pratt.
Then he's like, I need to figure out more about these raptor things. Yeah. If they can rip your stomach and do all this. He's like, I want to learn more about this. This is cool.
Yeah.
Like, he seems like one of the kids that would like to. Who he's like in Toy Story, that Sid or whatever who blows up the toys. He probably hears about raptors like, oh, I could use those for things. I could train them. Like, maybe that was his little dream.
Well, I mean, if you got terrified by this creature that Grant's talking about, you might be really scared, but you might be intrigued as well. So maybe it would give you a point to go and research these creatures and find out more about them. And then you get put in a spot where, you're a military guy who also has a good depth of knowledge on velociraptors. There's not a lot of those guys out there. So who better to pick than Owen Grady?
I mean, that makes a lot of sense.
It does. It really does. It's certainly a headcanon aspect, but It's
hope it
fun to
happens.
imagine. It's really fun to imagine.
I really do. Now I want it. Oh man, I want that now.
I have one here. I thought of. Actually, it's something that's been going around for a while. I know a lot of people are stuck on this topic and can't get past it, but it's basically Hammond's dying wish. And, you know, at the beginning of Jurassic World, Masrani talks about this park in Jurassic World being brought to life is Hammond's dying wish. Now, is it really, or is there some sort of misinterpretation here? I don't really know. I think it's one of those things that we might not ever get answered, because as far as we know, at the end of The Lost World, that's the last time we see Hammond. He's a naturalist, you know, but we know he is kind of he's narcissistic, and he's a little out of his mind, and he wants to see things that he built come to life. So I know he kind of is eccentric and has all these weird aspects of him, like when people are dying in the middle of a park, you know, he's the one that says Nedry was a mistake and you know next time and all this stuff. So he's a little out of his mind. I don't know.
I think that because he's so passionate about what he loves, he probably did say that to someone at one point, and then it just got taken and ran with it, and everyone just kind of saw him as that is his dying wish, like that's his thing, and they took with what he created and his whole view of it and everything, but they never really listened to his whole story on it. Probably they probably just saw that part of him, and he said it once to somebody or then once to somebody else, and then that person just took it and ran with it. I feel like that's possible. Like from Miss Ronnie's perspective, yeah, it could have been his dying wish, but whether it was truly or not, I don't know. But from his perspective, it probably was. He was probably speaking the truth on that.
Yeah, I think it's basically like the headline aspect of what Hammond may have said. You know, when you read a headline, it'll say Hammond's dying wish create Jurassic World. But when you actually read the article, it probably says that's not his dying wish. His dying wish was not to do that. It was to do something else, you know, in Jurassic World style, but not like this.
Exactly
so,
right.
I think that's probably what happened. There was definitely some miscommunication. Masrani's a real enthusiastic guy, and he's, you know, aside from, you know, trying to get the feel of the park and how are things doing, how are the people, how are the dinosaurs doing, I think there's much more to him, and he's not as non-business focused as he first comes off.
Right, I agree. I mean, because he's ready to let people die instead of shooting.
He really is, yeah.
That's why I can't figure him out. I never know if what his intentions are.
Yeah,
I don't know.
But I think that's a question that we might not ever get answered unless they decide to touch on it somehow, briefly.
And there's another question. We'll never know who Masrani really is, like what his intentions really are, where he really falls, where his loyalties fall. Is he more dreams, like dying wish Hammond, or is he more, we cannot kill that asset, it's worth $4 million, like which way? I don't know.
It was so brief, the time that we got with him, and like you said, it's he flip-flops, and it's tough to get a read on him.
Yeah, but I mean that's good because it's very human that way.
Yeah.
And I like that. I like that the people, that's what's kind of different about Jurassic topic, tangent, but how people in Jurassic World and Jurassic Park are different, because in Jurassic World they're very human. They make very human mistakes, and they're very human with their thoughts, and they're very flip-floppy because people are flip-floppy. But in Jurassic Park, everyone kind of knew what they wanted, knew who they were, knew what they were doing, and that was their stance.
Yep.
That's I think the interesting, I guess, the divide with people. Some like it one way, some like it the other way, but that's what I like about Jurassic World is people are very human in it with their choices.
Yeah.
And how they act.
Yeah. I think it explains a lot. And Masrani being that human kind of character, humans make mistakes, and he made some bad calls that day, and maybe he made a bad call in the beginning with Hammond's dying wish.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can't really read him like you can't read most people. So I like it. Yeah.
So what do you got next?
I'm going to go with, okay, this is more like an observation kind of, but no one eats the entire movie of Jurassic Park. Like they're gonna die.
Yeah.
No one eats. They don't eat Alejandro's chili and sea bass.
Until the very end, the kids And there's some ice cream being eaten.
There's some ice cream, but literally everyone else is just going to die of starvation.
Yes, you're right, because how early did they have to get up to get on that helicopter, get to the island? It's a full day event. And you're right. From the time they got there through Alejandro's lunch, nobody ate a bite because they're like, oh, lunch is ready, let's go eat. And then they sit there and argue for 10 minutes, and then, oh, the kids are here.
All right, let me tell you something. If I woke up early and went to this park and then toured the park for like hours, I'm going to eat my food. Yeah. Like, they could talk all they want. I'll be there stuffing my face because I'll be starving by then. They'll be having this intelligent debate, and I'll be like, can I eat yours too, since you're not using it? Yeah. I'll just eat everyone's food.
Now,
that's how I would do it.
I'm glad this came up because I had something that popped into my head a few minutes ago randomly. Now, this is a question that my friend actually asks me all the time. This is my friend Chris. He actually asked me recently again, what is Malcolm eating in the helicopter? Now, I don't know. And now pay attention next time because I think it's probably just gum, but he pulls something out of his jacket and he just he has something in his hand and then he just throws something in his mouth real quick. It could be like a small peanut of some sort, or it could be a piece of gum. I don't know, but that's true. That's the only thing I've ever seen in the beginning.
I always kind of thought it was gum, but you're right because the way he eats it, it's like he's at a Pirates game, a baseball game, or something.
Exactly. Yeah, it's not like a gum chew. It's more of I'm gonna finish this piece of peanut or some sort of
like
thing.
It's a movie or something.
This granola bar that I have here. But yeah, you're right. These people, especially after the treachery they go through, I don't know how they'd make it through.
I mean, he gets the little whatever he has, his little nuts or whatever. Ellie gets ice cream. Hammond gets ice cream. The kids eat junk. Alan's just gonna die. That's it. He's just not gonna eat anything.
Yeah, well, he's like a real tough guy. He can go a full day without a meal.
Oh, he didn't really. Did they eat in Jurassic 3?
Yeah, he ate from the can of beans or whatever, right?
Yeah, see, he was hungry at that one, but
I don't remember if they took stuff out of their backpack. So they went to the snack machine.
Oh yeah, they got the snacks.
They got snacks.
But did he eat them though? That's the thing. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. These are questions that are impossible to answer. You always think it because you're like, all right, they just spent this amount of time. They didn't eat. They didn't use the bathroom. How are they still alive?
Well, we just asked the most important question in the entire franchise.
Really?
In Jurassic Park 3, did they eat the snacks they took from the vending machine?
And the only person you ever see go to the bathroom is Gennaro. And it doesn't work out well for him.
That was an emergency. You had to run for an emergency on that.
Yeah. Well, since we're speaking about the characters and everything, and one of the biggest questions that I have, and everybody, is what broke up Alan and Ellie?
Oh, my heart.
It's terrible. I know. I'm
sorry.
It broke
with them.
It really
I
did.
love them so much.
It really did. Sometimes I watch the movie and I'm like, were we looking into this more than we should have? Was there more to their, or not as much to their romance as we originally thought? But you watch back, no, there's actually moments, they say like honey and stuff like that. So there's an actual relationship there that's all of a sudden broken up in part 3, and it kills everybody.
It didn't have to be. She could have stayed home. I mean, that would have made sense.
Yeah.
He could have went to his things. I mean, he was just doing his teaching speeches anyway. I mean, he wasn't going out trekking all over. That would totally be fine. And then he gets called to that thing. Fine. She could still stay home. Barney could still happen. I mean, nothing would have changed.
No, nothing. It all could have been the same.
And it would have been even better because then she would have saved them and she was there at the end and it would have been a nice thing. My goodness.
It's such a shame, and I don't know why that was done at all.
And it couldn't have been money because they had to pay her husband, dude, to whatever actor that was. Like, they had to pay another guy, so it's not like they were saving money. Because usually it comes down to money.
Yeah. Let's make less characters. No, let's actually add more to this one.
Add more to pay more money out to someone character we don't even need.
Yeah, and actually, Sickle Claw on Twitter said, "Why does Mark Degler exist?"
I want to know that too.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Like we just said, there's no reason for that character. I guess aside from he was the only way that Ellie could call the U.S. military to show up, right?
Well, yeah, but I'd like to guess that she'd have other connections to this point.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you don't need that connection. You could have just assumed that I called Ellie called somebody else, and then they showed up. We don't need Mark in the middle of this.
If that's their reasoning, if that really is their reasoning, her connection, if that's the whole reasoning that this comes down to, they are not creative at all then. They need to get off their butts and make a creative decision, because that's not it.
No, that was not it, and it's tough to go back from that now. It's canon. It's in the film. It happened, so you can choose to ignore it if you want, but it actually happened. It's something that we have to pay attention to.
I can't believe they did that. I'm never gonna be okay. And even in the fifth, they can't really fix it because it's like it happened. Like they can't backtrack.
Mm-hmm. No,
not going to be the same.
No, and even at this point, you don't want to see Ellie and Mark get a divorce or something like that. You don't want to see that. You don't want to see. I mean, at this point, Charlie's pretty old.
Feed Mark to the Spinosaurus. Why is he exactly Matt Sickleclaw? I agree. Why is he there? Why does he exist?
No, yeah, nobody knows.
It must be Henry did something.
It was all Henry's fault.
It's his fault. Yeah. He did something. He's like, I'm going to distract Alan by making this happen, and he's not going to see my collection of Barbasol cans. And
he's like, I got a friend named Mark. I'm going to send to Montana.
Yeah. Like, I'm going to make this huge distraction while I'm over here with my little Spinosaurus on a leash.
Yeah.
Totally happening.
I could see it. Definitely.
Yeah.
There's going to be a flashback.
I hope so.
All right. So what's your next one?
What's my next one? Okay. I want to know, and you may have an answer for this. I don't know. But what was Nedry's actual plan? Like, was he going to leave with the boat guy on the boat? Or was he going to give the can to the guy and then come back like nothing happened? Or if he did make it to the boat and he left on the boat, wouldn't Hammond know that it was him who did it? I mean, it's pretty obvious. So then he would have got caught anyway. So, like, what was his real plan? Like, what was he trying to accomplish by leaving?
Yeah, that's a really good question, actually. I don't know. I mean, yeah. If you have him drive out to the boat, you'd kind of assume he'd get on and run away. But like you said, everybody would know, and it would be obvious at that point, right?
Yeah.
Unless I don't know. I mean, I don't know how many people planned on staying behind. Was he gonna stay behind? Because at that point, everybody had evacuated to the boat, so he was left. Muldoon, Ray Arnold, and the rest of the group there. But was he going to stay behind? I don't know. Yeah. He could have, I guess he could have planned it off as if, he just ran outside for something and came back in and got a little wet. But I don't know. It's a really good question. What do you think?
Well, like, even then, let's just say, take it one step further. He succeeded. He got to the boat. He miraculously gives the dude the can, and let's just say he comes back and he's fine, turns the power back on, everything's fine, no one suspects him, I guess. If another company magically discovers like all these dinosaur research that they worked so hard to find, isn't someone at the Jurassic camp gonna get a clue that, hey, someone gave them our stuff. Hey, Nedry disappeared for a time. Like, someone's going to put it together. He's never going to get away with it. Even if he got away with it, he never would get away with it.
Yeah,
There's
you're right.
no way.
Yeah, I think at that point, yeah. Hammond would probably just fire everybody. Like, if he realized something got out, he'd just have a new crew come in.
And the the first company that would come up with new dinosaurs or whatever they're trying to use the research for. That's like a huge red light above them saying, I did it. I took your research. Like, they can't really even use the research without being noticed of, I took the world's greatest dinosaur research. Like, it's not something that you won't notice if someone else creates it magically. Like, and they did it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just no way to get around it.
I had wondered if, like, Biosyn had a plan to give him a spot at their company somewhere. But like you said, if he started working somewhere else, somebody would have known, and they would have put two and two together. Oh, they have the embryos, and they also have Nedry. Something's going on there.
Right. There's just no way. And even if they just gave him money and didn't even bother with them and did their own thing, still, they have the research. If they put it out there, they're going to be like, wow, they got it from us. So suing them, all this stuff, I mean, there's no way they get away with it.
Yeah, I mean, he had $1.5 million, or he would have, but maybe he just was going to disappear. Who knows? Maybe just go to some other island and disappear.
Yeah. But then it'd still get caught. Like, the company itself would still get caught.
Yeah, you'd think so.
Who knows that much? Like, that's like stealing all of Disney World's secrets, rebuilding or blueprints, rebuilding the exact same park in the middle of the country and calling it something else. Like, no, that's Disney World. You just stole the blueprints. Like, it's the same exact thing. Everyone's going to know that you stole them because it's the same thing that no one else has. So it's like, there's no way. You're not going to, no one's getting away with that.
Yeah, I just think it was very flawed from the beginning, and it wouldn't have worked out either way. If their plan had, officially worked, I don't think it would have, anyway.
No.
Down the road.
Which I think is interesting, because that's never really thought about. You're just like, oh, if he only would have made it to the boat, or, oh, he didn't make it, or, oh, this, but you never really think past that. Like, what if he did make it to the boat? Then what? Like, what was his plan? I don't know. All of it was flawed.
Something we'll never know.
Right?
I have something to kind of go off of that real quick. Let's see, where's my question here? Oh, it's very simple, but so the Dilophosaurus followed him into the Jeep, or basically got there before him, and he closed the door in there. Are we to assume Dilophosauruses know how to open doors as well? And can they get back out of the Jeep? Or did that Dilophosaurus die in the Jeep with him?
Huh. Well, okay, he was definitely in. Did he go through the window?
I don't think so. I mean, the door was wide open, right? So because he fell, he was trying to get back into the Jeep, and the door was wide open. So I guess the Dilo just kind of walked around him somehow, which is kind of ridiculous. I don't see how that happened, but it walked right in, sat in the passenger seat, and then just waited for him to get in and close the door, and then attacked him. But
I love it.
What else happened? That. Like, is that it? Is that the end of the sequence? Did it get out? Did it, die in there? Are there two skeletons in there?
No, maybe. He could probably jump through the window. Like I said, even though it's. Well, I don't know. Was it the plastic kind of windows, or is it the glass?
Maybe. Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, he could probably bite his way through.
Yeah.
Or he's pretty strong. Probably get through somehow.
He had enough food in there to last him a while, so he made sure he got stronger and then broke.
He was
his way out.
lounging in the back. Don't bother me. I'm in the comfy seat.
Or maybe to go off of my initial question, maybe he continued the plan, got in the Jeep, drove it down, got the Barbasol can, went to the dock, and escaped.
You know what? I bet that's it.
So that's the story for the next movie.
That's it. There's the clue. Now, where was Henry in all of this? You have him on the walkie?
Yeah, that's how he knew the plan. Like, he didn't know the plan otherwise.
Yeah. Oh, I hope it happened that way. That'd be great.
That would be great. Whose turn is it? Did you went last, and then I kind of bounced off that, or?
Yeah, I only have one more.
All right, I got a bunch more here. So,
you go.
This one question is really curious to everybody, and it's what killed everybody on the SS Venture. So at the end of the Lost World, they lose communication with the ship coming in with the T-Rex, and once the thing crashes, you find that everybody's dead, and there's somebody on the button which is making the door go open and close. There's a missing hand, or a hand on the steering wheel. So there's all kinds of really serious questions going on here, and I like that Jack from the Jurassic Cast podcast, he made up his own theory that it was Nick Van Owen's hand on there, and I guess he was trying to sabotage this mission here, and it just didn't work out. So somebody cut his arm off, and I don't know, he's missing still. But I really like his theory that was his hand, and he sabotaged this whole thing. But really, we don't know what killed everybody. We can assume from some behind-the-scenes stuff that it was a set of raptors or whatever that got on there and killed everybody. Or maybe somehow the Rex broke free and killed everybody and then got trapped again. But I don't know. What do you think?
I'm really surprised that that's even a question. Like, that's kind of a plot hole.
It is.
Like, that's an important thing. I'm surprised they didn't cover their bases on that.
No, I mean, it happens, but that's
subtle.
A big one. That's a real big one.
Yeah, that's not a subtle thing. Everyone's probably like, what? What? I mean, my theory would always be like the Bermuda Triangle happened or something. Or it's like a Titanic mystery.
Yeah. Look,
a combination of that.
There's many moments like this, and we can continue on into Jurassic Park 3 with the parasail boat. Like,
yeah,
what killed them? We don't know.
Piranhas. Like, what are those things that like, in SpongeBob, the thing that ate his pineapple house? What were those little planktons or something? You know how they just went by and just ate? Do you not know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't. I don't know. His house got eaten?
I hope somebody on this listening knows what I'm talking about. Yeah, there was like these on SpongeBob, these little things that went through the ocean and just ate everything like real fast. And at one point they ate his pineapple house. And he was sad.
It's a bunch of
they had to grow another pineapple or something. It was a really sad episode. But yeah, these little things just like went through and just ate things, and there was like gone. And just kept doing that. And I think it was like that. That's the dinosaur version where it just goes over
just
a boat.
A bunch of piranhas like jumped out of the water, attacked that boat, and then went back in the water.
Yeah, like what else? What kind of water? It would have to be a water thing.
Well, yeah. I mean, a lot of people assume it could be the Spinosaurus. Somehow, got out there and swam around like people know it does. Other people say it's pteranodons, but
no,
I don't know.
I think it was a water thing. It probably could have been the Spinosaurus. I mean, it makes sense with the story. Could have been.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Josh at Nublar7 said, "Who killed the dinosaur?" tour guides on the boat in JP3 as well. So it's certainly a question that many people are wondering.
Well, we have a couple choices: the little plankton from SpongeBob, piranhas, or Spinosaurus, which is probably the Spinosaurus.
Yeah,
I mean, that's like foreshadowing. It makes sense. It's like,
yeah. So I just covered two. I'll piggyback with somebody else's question here, kind of off of this. Is there any canon explanation for what happened to the pteranodons of JP3? That one comes from Instagram, Cardona.JuanManuel. So there's no official canon explanation, but if you go to the Masrani Global website somewhere, I believe it says that Hoskins led a team to capture them. I forget where exactly. I haven't read it in a while, but that's on that website. So if you go to that, I'm sure you can scour around and find it. So it's a really cool explanation, and it kind of ties in, like I was saying before, how JP3 ties into Jurassic World a lot. So that's a really cool explanation that maybe Vic Hoskins ran an ACU team or something like that to go capture these birds.
Though, if you really apply what you're saying with the connection between Jurassic 3 and Jurassic World, it might make people like Jurassic 3 more, because it's kind of a prequel or like a little step into it. A standalone, I could see the hate, but I mean, if you really connect it to the events, that makes that movie really cool and kind of important.
That's what I've been trying to say, like, to everybody out there. Don't just dismiss that movie. You got to view them as basically a continuation. So if you look at JP3, continue it and go right into Jurassic World, and you'll see so many connections there. And like this one here, it's a great connection. It's not one that's officially canon per se, but it can be. You can consider it canon. I like to. It works for me, and it definitely makes JP3 better. Because I was one of those people that didn't necessarily love the movie. When I first saw it, I was kind of disappointed, but over the years, I've grown to really like it and appreciate it. And since Jurassic World came out, my level of appreciation has just skyrocketed.
That's so awesome. I love that there's a bird cage in both of them. I'd like to hope that they're like, hey, it worked. It's awesome. It was cool. Let's put it in this one.
Yeah.
And it's kind of built the same. Like, it kind of looks the same-ish.
Yeah, it does have that very round look to it at the top.
Yeah. I like that theory a lot. Now I want to go watch it. I want to watch them back to back.
Yeah. But my question actually, going off of this one now, is the pteranodons we know were already loose in the Lost World. The one comes down at the very end of the movie. It's not in any cage, right?
Yeah, aren't they loose in like every movie?
I don't know. We didn't see anything in the first movie, but the rest of the three, yeah. But it doesn't make any sense to me because like they make a point to show that they left that gate open in JP3.
Yeah,
like it was a big deal, but they were already loose. So why is it a big deal? Doesn't make any sense to me. So that's my question is like, what happened there?
That's a good question. Like, why they do that? Were they going to revisit it? Maybe it's just more explanation of they all escaped now, even though we don't really see it. But now the rest can escape. The ones that were taking a nap, the ones that were eating, the ones that were like, I don't want to bother with those humans. Yeah. They're like, oh, we're free now. Like, I don't know. Maybe just the rest of them.
It's kind of like that. The SS Venture question. It's just like kind of a bit of a plot hole, but you got to look past it and just not overanalyze it, I guess.
I feel like I guess that's like a directorial choice maybe, and maybe they were going to come back to it, or maybe they were going to throw something else in, but then it got thrown out, and then they just forgot they had it in there. Then they just left it.
Yeah, well, I think the problem is back in those days, they didn't have like the Marvel universe or even Star Wars where there's people like paying attention to all these details and making sure that nothing's overlapping each other or nothing's removing something else from the canon. And we needed that back in those days, and I guess we didn't really have it that way. And we need it now too to make sure that this stuff doesn't happen again. So I think that's the problem. There's just a little bit of a disconnect between the directors and the writers and all this stuff, and making sure that you're paying tribute to the old ones and staying true to what they already said.
Yeah. I mean, back by Jurassic 3, though, by then, they didn't have that, like, pride for it, I guess. They just thought, oh, it's another Jurassic movie, we'll just make it.
Yeah.
But now with this fourth one, Colin, like, put so much soul and life into it, and connection and care and love and everything. But just like what you were saying with the Star Wars and such, the attention to detail is so high. Now I feel like that's their new standard, and I think they will. And maybe they'll even somehow magically connect all of them together and somehow throw in Jurassic 3 and all the stuff like that and little things that you we're noticing we don't have answers. Maybe we will get answers to them. Maybe sometime in the future they'll go back, rewatch them, and be like, well, this is a plot hole. We'll fill it in here. Wouldn't that be something if by the end everything was absolutely connected? Like American Horror Story. Like if the day that he connects all of those seasons, my mind's going to blow up. So if they do that with Jurassic, same thing.
I hope so. I mean, all they need to do is just, if they're making 2 more films at least we know of, they just need to have little tiny references to fix some errors in the previous movies, and it would make everybody feel better.
Then they could. I mean, they have the creativity. They could do it. They have the people. They have the right people. They have people who are fans of the show, people like us. They should hire us. But, I mean, they have people like us that care enough to connect them.
Yeah.
They could.
Yeah, it's something that it needs, and it would take 2 seconds to right some of the wrongs. And it would, like you said before about JP3, it makes movies better when you can connect the dots and refer to different parts of the movies as all connected.
Yeah. And then you can really watch the entire series and your mind will just blow up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's so connected.
Yeah. I know the Fast and the Furious franchise, which is Universal, is doing a great job at connecting the dots like that as well. You wouldn't think so, like, just because it's, it's just a car movie. They're just racing and whatever. But they're actually connecting dots like that, and it works. And it works really well. And they're kind of skipping the timelines and doing all these interesting things. Hopefully we get that kind of treatment here.
You know what? I bet those Fast and Furious people are like, that's just a dinosaur movie. It's just a monster movie. Like, they don't get it. Just like we don't get the car thing. They're like,
I get that. I'm a huge fan of Fast and Furious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the outside, you would just see, just like you said, just racing. But
yeah, that's what I mean. It doesn't seem like something that should connect very well, but it does.
Yeah.
All right, you have another one, I think, right?
I got one more, and I'm really surprised this one hasn't been covered yet because I left it at the end because I figured it would be. The giant question that everyone wants to know: how did the T-Rex get into the visitor center? Yeah, Innovation Center is the word. The visitor center at the end. How did the T-Rex get into the visitor center?
Well, this is easy. This is very easy. There's a wide open door.
Was it like unfinished?
It was unfinished, yeah. There was a wide open area where it could just walk right in.
Was that ever shown?
No.
I can't
not exactly.
Believe that,
but if you look, I mean, there's a part where the raptor is behind the plastic, and it ducks its head up and over and peeks through, and then they're all standing there in the center of the visitor center. And shortly after that, the T-Rex, I believe, comes from the same side. But there's a few scenes on the outside where you can see that it's unfinished. And even on the inside, I think you can see straight through to the outside. So that's your answer right there. That was an easy one.
I never looked at that. I mean, I looked, but I never saw unfinished. I figured that the plastic was inside, like they were finishing the painting on the walls, or they were finishing inside things like painting and scaffolding or whatever. But on the outside, I thought why would you finish the inside and not finish the building, like complete the walls?
Yeah, that's a really good question because like the kitchen is nice and done, and the dining room and
all done.
all that stuff's finished. But
that's my question.
That is a really good question though, why it's not done. But yeah, if you go back and look, there's a few parts where there's like windows aren't even finished, and the sides of the building it's like not done. So the thing just crawled right in, and just it would have been tight though for sure.
They have the big skeleton in the middle. They have everything painted, all the tables and chairs, but the building's not done.
Yeah.
Perfect sense.
Let's see here. I'll skip over these last ones that I had anyway are not too great anyway. I just threw them down. But let's start here with an email from James Hawkins. He says, both of you please pick out one of the following options. If you had to, what would you do? Either be trapped on Isla Nublar during the incident of Jurassic Park with Ellie, Grant, and the others. Be an InGen soldier during the Lost World camping and long grass scenes trying to avoid being hunted. Endure the constant wave of predators in JP3 and put up with the annoying Kirby's. Or be stuck in a gyrosphere or in Gyrosphere Valley after dark with the Indominus on the loose. You can answer from a real life perspective or even from a character's perspective as if you were in one of the films. So there you go. What's your pick?
Easy. First movie, because you're with experts. You're with people who know their way around things. They know the dinosaurs. They know the environment. They understand everything. In the second one, I would not do good. You can't see. You're in grass. You can't see.
Yeah.
You're going to trip over things. No matter how good of a fighter. I'm not a war fighter. Like, I don't even know how to hold a gun, so that's bad. I'd be done. And so that whole thing, no. Oh, with the Kirby's, yeah, that's rough. You have Alan, but, and then the fourth in the gyrosphere, no. Who wants to be trapped in a ball? You're going to die. So I'm going to go with the first movie with the experts.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly what I was saying. I think as bad as that situation was, it's it's so tough to say it's less worse, but I think it is. I think it might be less worse because at least I know I really have no logical explanation as to why it's better, but at least let's say the Lost World, for instance, that long grass scene, I don't think there's any way out of that. And they got lucky, they got really lucky. And that's incredible how lucky they got, but I don't think most people would be. As far as the JP3 goes, it's essentially the same situation. They're just being chased by raptors and Spinosaurus, and it's real bad news. Like, there's no getting out of that either. They got lucky with the military. I would put that as second.
Because, again, it's the same one as the first, kind of same predicament as the first one, but not as many experts. So
not as many experts, but also no way out, really.
No resources, yeah.
Nothing. Like, at least maybe they could hunker down in Jurassic Park, stay there until they could call somebody. So maybe that's why it's better, because there was a bunker, there was all these things, and they got the phones working.
Yeah.
But on JP3, nothing works, and there's really no way out. So they got lucky with the fact that they had a satellite phone. As far as these titles, they get me so confused sometimes. As far as Jurassic World goes, I don't know. That might be second on my list, because if I'm stuck in Gyrosphere Valley, I might be. I don't know. If I'm in the situation the kids were in, that's not good. But if I'm just stuck in the valley and the Indominus is loose somewhere, maybe that's okay.
I gotta put the Gyrosphere last.
Wow, really?
To say. They have no weapons. They have no resources. They're stuck in a glass ball.
Yes.
Glass is dangerous, for one.
If you're in the character's perspective, probably last place.
Yeah, because at least in Lost World they have weapons. In the first one, they're free and they have resources. In the third one, they don't have resources, but they have each other and they're freedom. They can move around and get whatever and hide or whatever. But that Gyrosphere would be my least pick, because you're limited. You're in glass, which is bad. You don't have anything. You only have one other person with you in that theory. Even if it's just me and you, we're not going to make it very far. That's it. It doesn't move very fast. It doesn't go fast like a car.
No.
I put that one as my last one.
Yeah, it's really tough, but I think we at least both settle on Jurassic Park being the best option.
Yeah.
So that's our answer there, James.
It's a good question.
Yeah,
Thank
definitely. I got some more here. Let's check out Twitter. Richard Everson. I already read his first one about capturing and containing the assets, but he also asked, why is there a restricted zone in Jurassic World? Is there wild and free dinos wandering around? I think that's something we all assumed was meant to be, based off of a lot of there was actually that print that was released, I think around like San Diego Comic-Con or something, where it showed the raptor on top of one of the old explorers. So we kind of assumed that restricted zone was that area where there are loose dinosaurs and all this stuff. And maybe they are, because if you take that gyrosphere scene, right, for instance, they went through the gates, right, into the restricted zone.
Yeah. Why would they have a restricted zone? Why would they even risk having a restricted zone?
Yeah, that's better question. I don't know. Because I assume that that's a restricted zone. They went through the gate, they're in the restricted zone, and they come across the Ankylosauruses, and there's a bunch of them there, and then obviously the Indominus broke in there too, but we have to assume that there's probably more dinosaurs in that restricted area, but I don't know why. Why didn't they just capture them? Maybe. Technically the herbivores are free in their valley as well, because I didn't really see any kind of containment around that, but
maybe the restricted zone are ones that are not sick, but like they can't be on display for some reason, but they're not dangerous. Maybe there are herbivores. Maybe even the restricted zone split in half, where you have half carnivores split into their certain little areas, and then herbivores in their certain little areas. But maybe they can't be shown off yet. In the same idea that the Indominus was in his own little paddock far away. maybe it's that same idea.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the ones that can't be on display yet for whatever reason.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a really tough question. Why it's there, why it exists? Because you would like you said, you would think it'd kind of be harmful to people if people did get through, or if they got through to them.
Another thing that I thought it could be before they really went with the fence and everything was maybe it was more lab stuff and more hybrid experiments, like the stuff that was really restricted, like to everyone except a few people, because it was so legal, I guess, and like crazy. And maybe that's where they kept all the cuttlefish tanks and stuff. Like all their experimental animals.
I mean, we know the raptors are over there. I forget, is the Indominus probably over there somewhere?
I think he is, yeah.
So they've definitely got some experimental stuff going on. I also know that the volcano is up there in that top of the island. So maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know. But it's very unanswered, at least for now.
Yeah. I think it's probably one of those things, if not more than one of those things.
Mm-hmm.
Probably something. We probably got one of it in there, yeah.
All right, let's see here. I got, where were we? Still over on Twitter. We got a bunch of questions here from Josh again. He says, no live ammunition was used on the Pteranodons and Dimorphodons during the Main Street attack. Their bodies are gone during the final battle. Who cleaned up the sleeping reptiles and where did they put them?
Oh, Hoskins and his team took them. And Henry took them. Yes. I think Henry has them again in his little collection. It's like, I'm going to bring them back to life like Frankenstein.
But here's the thing. No live ammunition was used. So they're using tranks, right, on these flying creatures. So I don't know how many. That was daytime, right? So I don't know how long these tranks last, but maybe they just wore off and they all flew away.
Maybe, but I think they did contain them at that point.
Yeah.
I think Hoskins, their people took them or they killed them. I mean, they didn't seem afraid to kill any of them. So maybe after the tranquilizing, they did get the actual deadly weapons and killed them all.
Mm-hmm.
And then put them in the river, put them in the ocean or whatever. Awesome.
My only question is how much manpower did they have? And we know there was quite a few people there shooting them down. But I feel like they'd need a ton of people because they have to push all the people towards a safe area. So there's a lot of people focusing on that. And then you have to use the other half, I guess, to clean up this area. But I don't feel like cleanup is a necessary precaution right at this moment.
For Hoskins,
aside from them waking up, I guess. Yeah, for Hoskins maybe. Yeah,
he probably wants them. He wants them dead. He wants them gone. He wants them taken. He wants them taken care of. He wants whatever he wants done to them. He'll find people to do it. Like he'll call them and he'll get someone, or he'll move them. He'll have his people do it temporarily, and then have other people come in and get him later. Or like I said, just shoot him for real and then just dump him in the water. Like I feel like he would have gotten that done pretty efficiently. Because where was he at this point? What was he doing? He was still trying to plot.
He was on the roof at that point.
Yeah.
But in between watching. There, I don't know. Yeah, he was just smiling away, like loving it.
See, so he wasn't like in any danger. He totally could have had that taken care of.
Yeah, I think you're right. But let's move on to Josh's next question. It says, Irex had Paddock 11, and the Raptors had their pen. Why the need for a big wall separating the island with armed guards? So that big wall was
that the restricted zone thing again, or no?
I don't know. I mean, that's a really good question because, as far as we know from the map, the visitor center is not in the restricted area. So the old visitor center. So they drove that to I guess where Main Street was. Drove the Jeep, and it was outside of, or it was in the fences of the restricted area. So I think that wall must be something around the paddocks inside the area. I don't know. Maybe that's the wall protecting everybody from the Gyrosphere Valley. You know?
Yeah. Maybe it's to keep everything out of each other. Like, they don't want the stuff in the paddocks getting out there, and they don't want the stuff out there getting into their paddock area. It's probably to keep both sides from getting into the other.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to look at it. Is you're right, like just separating everything, making sure nobody gets in the wrong spot.
Yeah,
because visitors are on the roam. You know, they're gonna wander into places they shouldn't, and they might wander into the Gyrosphere Valley, you know, by accident. So you don't want that happening.
Right. And I mean, and the ones in the Gyrosphere Valley, if that's where they were driving through at that point, they're big. They're herbivores, but they're big, so they want like strong walls to stop them.
Yeah. I think that's got to be the answer. That works for me at least. But
Works
yeah,
for me.
I hadn't really thought of it too much before. I never really thought about what wall that actually was. So that's a really good question. And he has one more question here, and he says, "It's the biggest question of all. Where's the goat?" Well, we found out really quickly. Sorry, Josh. I mean, you might not. You got to open your eyes at that part. I know it's scary, but it's there.
Yeah. Poor goats. Goats get no love.
No.
In Jurassic.
No, I know. They're just used as like feeding and it's pretty terrible to think about it. These cattle are being dropped into a raptor pen. There's goats being fed. There's sharks being fed. Like, it's really terrible. Really bad. Pigs, apparently, too. Like,
oh, pig loose! Like my favorite line in the whole movie. Pig loose!
Yeah. Let's see here. I got another one on Twitter. Again, from earlier, we heard from Ryan Nat Allen. He said, "Did Dennis Nedry's blood cascade down the shaving cream can and spawn a Dennis Nedry hybrid?"
Oh my goodness.
A Denisaurus, if you will.
I'm gonna guess the possibility is very slim.
Yeah.
But we can hope.
We can hope, but that would be so terrifying. Let's really hope it didn't happen. I hope it didn't.
Know. I don't even know what. Well, him and the Dilophosaurus could be like best friends.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like a mix of Dennis Dilophosaurus. So
yeah.
Maybe it's just Dennis's face on a Dilophosaurus body, and he just spits Butterfingers.
Or it's like a flower. Instead of going back against its neck, it like encloses his face. So when it opens, you see Dennis Nedry's face.
Oh god, that's horrifying.
And he's like yelling at you because he can't really make a dinosaur noise.
Yeah, he's just,
like, yelling.
He's just screaming.
Yeah.
All right. Another one I have here on Twitter is from Christopher Joyce. He says, "We've seen several theories and maps, but what's your opinion on the Rex paddock, plus the cliffs in terms of the layout?"
Question.
Yeah, this is a question, another huge question, and I've actually had some people write or call in. I forget which it was, but we really dove deep into it and we figured it out as best as we could. And I actually, in the movie theater this past week when I saw Jurassic Park, I paid a lot of attention, and there is actually a bit where you can see that goat when they first put it out. Next to the goat, you can see it drop off. You actually can, and I swear. It's not something I actually paid attention to before, but you can see it drop off. And we know when Hammond's talking to Gennaro in the beginning that he's like, yes, we have the moats in place, and all that stuff. So he's already talking about moats. That's what that is. That's a giant moat in place to keep the dinosaurs away from those fences. And as far as its placement, it's a little odd, but I guess the Rex would have had to come all the way from the left to get that goat and then to somehow cross over the fence. But yeah, it doesn't exactly work. It doesn't exactly make a ton of sense, but we can see that cliff there. I don't know. What's your thought?
Well, let's think here. When you go to a zoo and you see tigers and stuff, they do have a giant moat. Mm-hmm. But the moat's not like inside their enclosure. It's blocking them from getting to you. In the T-Rex's instance, it's inside his closure, which is kind of odd. Mm-hmm. And really, it's a really large moat. Like, you can't really see across from it, so I don't understand why it's there. But I could see the fact of a protective measure somehow, but then I could see him and putting the goat up front because he wants people to see the T-Rex. So I can kind of see both sides. Maybe the insurance people were like, you need a moat. So he's like, fine, I'll put it over here, but I'm going to keep my goat over here so the T-Rex comes close to the people because that's what he wants. And he's like, they won't know that I'm going to keep the goat close here, but I'll put their moat in for their insurance purposes. So maybe it was a mix of that. And yeah, I do think that the goat was on the edge kind of the moat. I believe they're pretty close. So I'm on your train with that. Yeah. And as the movie progresses, I feel like they move a little bit. Like they're not in the same place in front of the goat. Like they're back further. So that would make sense. I could see that.
Yeah.
That the moat's like down a little bit.
It is very tough because I think the goat is all the way on the left. And the Rex obviously comes through in the middle somewhere. So I don't know how it got from the left to the middle if that moat was right there. You know, maybe since the fence was down, it used its legs to span some sort of gap. I don't know. I don't think there's a clean answer for it. But I like to kind of think that there's maybe a little land bridge that it could kind of walk over to get to the fence and get through.
I don't understand why they built such a big moat right inside his enclosure. And it doesn't really make any sense. Like it's not like a big moat and then land. It's just like a giant hole in the ground.
You can't see the other side. It's just huge.
No, it's just a hole. So maybe that wasn't even part of his enclosure then. Maybe his enclosure ended where the cliff drop was.
But that means like that entire fence line is for show. Like there's nothing there, but maybe. Who knows? It's another one of those things that you just kind of have to live with, look past, and be okay with it.
Maybe
it's very tough.
Okay. Here's a thought. Maybe that's true. Maybe they kept that moat because, like I said, Hammond wants to keep the dinosaurs up front so people could see them. So they closed off, like, it looks like he has a big enclosure, but maybe the T-Rex really had a small enclosure. Maybe it was just that little area. Maybe they didn't think through that the T-Rex needs a big enclosure. They just made it look big, but they kept him in that small area so that people will see him every time they go by.
Yeah, you're probably right there. That's kind of sad to think about.
I know,
you only get this small area here to live, and you have to eat, off this little plate that we put out for you, and that's it. That's your only area.
I don't see it that being too far-fetched.
No, it really isn't, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know I talked about this on my last episode, episode 59, and about how the park was built and stuff, and we know they just didn't do it right. So that's another aspect of them not preparing correctly.
Yeah.
I have another one here, winding down for the last few. This is a theory from Mateus on Twitter. He says, when Billy and Alan are talking about the InGen list of species created, I presume, says, I'm trying to read this quote here, and it makes you think what else they were up to. Then they look at the Kirby's, and then they thought that the Kirby's were some kind of InGen agents. I don't know if you guys felt the same way, but no. This is me responding now. So he's basically saying that Billy and Alan are talking about that list that we were talking about with the Spinosaurus before, and if the Kirby's are some sort of agents. I don't believe that. No, sorry.
I don't think they're capable of that.
That's the perfect. They're not capable of that. No. We can see that they're bumbling idiots. Like they just don't know what's going on in the world. Really, they're just so out of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a fairly easy response. Is no, they're not. They're not some sort of spies or anything like that. But I think there is more to that list than we know. Let's see. The last two here are from Instagram. This one comes from Roberto2032. He says, how did Owen get the Indominus meat for the Raptors to smell? Well, this is actually a pretty answered question. Do you want to take this one? Do you know this one?
It's the one that he ripped out his tractor with, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty explanatory. Just pay attention to that one scene when the ACU go out to find the Indominus. And they do find it, but they also find the tracker on the ground, which has a bit of skin and meat. And then he lets the raptor smell it later on. So there's your answer right there.
The one that he lets the raptor smell, it still has the tracker in it, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, so it's like the same prop.
He just has it like covered over with like a towel or something, and he covers it and lets them smell it.
Unveils it.
Yeah. Apparently that hid the smell, so they didn't know it was there. But the last one we have here is from T-Wilk01, and he says, "Where can I get that Hawaiian shirt Dennis Nedry's wearing?" I kind of have an answer for you. There's a real good like mock shirt at Target. It's very close. It's very, very close.
I love that you know this.
I know. I've looked at it several times. I had the conversation with Nate from Jurassic June, who just bought the shirt. So we were talking about how much it looks like the Dennis Nedry shirt, and it's true. It's there. Go to Target.
Oh,
man.
That's awesome.
So
it's really awesome.
That was a real like long-winded episode of us not answering any questions really. I mean, we got a few, but
we did get a few of the easy ones.
Yeah, but there's so many unanswered questions and things that we might not get to realize ever in this series. So hopefully, like you said, they have some time to maybe cover their tracks. But I don't know. We'll see.
I don't know. I hope they take the time to at least some of the tracks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, me too. I mean, it's very easy just to do it, and all they need to do is expand the universe, create more materials, do things like they did with the Mizrahi website and different things like that, and the backdoor website. Those things actually do explain a lot, but we need them considered canon. We need somebody to actually tell us that. So hopefully they do that sometime and follow this suit of Star Wars and say, look, we're erasing all this other stuff, but everything you see here on this list is canon. And that would be great.
Yeah, and you know what? The way that they sprinkled Jurassic World with like retrospective stuff, like memory things and shout outs and just little things, the way they sprinkled it in, it wasn't overbearing. It was just there. If they sprinkled in connections like that, that would be perfect.
It would be.
Have to go full out on it. But the way that they sprinkled it in Jurassic World was the perfect balance, I think.
Yeah,
so they could do that again. Just instead of Mr. DNA, put in the mysteries that we were trying to figure out this time.
How about we just have a full movie of Mr. DNA explaining all these things?
Oh my gosh, that's a given. Oh man, can they fill in the blanks like that?
That would be awesome. Like they need like an app or something where you open it up. It's a Mr. DNA app, and you use the speaker or mic, and you're like, "So, Mr. DNA, where did the Spinosaurus go?" And he's like, "Well, let me tell you, he went to this place." And he just
please. No, you know what? It's gonna make you go out like Pokemon Go. You have to go out to these different locations, and he'll tell you different facts.
I like it. How do we do this? How do we get this made?
It needs to happen. Where does it, Mr. DNA Go? Is that what it's going to be called?
Mr. DNA Go. We absolutely need that app. Please make this app. Credit us. We came, or Jen came up with it there, but you got to credit me too. Come on, please. I'll take some credit, right?
You can have
Mr. DNA.
We'll go have these.
All right. Well, thank you for being here. Why don't you let people know yet again where they can find you?
You can find me at Jennifer_Lynn89 and also at the Bryce Dallas Howard Network at BDH Network.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, and I'm sure we'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you. Always fun.
Make sure to visit JurassicParkPodcast.com to find all our past episodes, brand new news articles, information on how to contact us, and much more. It's a great source for everything related to the podcast, and of course, Jurassic Park and Jurassic World. Head to JurassicParkPodcast.com and help us build a great community.
Anybody hear that?
Thanks for listening to the 60th episode of the Jurassic Park Podcast. Thank you so much to Jen for joining me this week. It's always exciting and fun to talk Jurassic with Jen. Don't forget to check out the show notes to find links to her work with BDH Network and her Twitter. Don't forget about our awesome announcement. We need you to send us a video of you talking about how much you love the Jurassic Park toy line. We're going to send it to Mattel, so make sure it's good. Don't miss the article posted on our website, JurassicParkPodcast.com, pertaining to the topic from last week's episode. The article points out the good and the bad of running the original Jurassic Park as a theme park. Comment on the post and let us know what you think. If you want to interact with us, we do most of our work over on Twitter, at Jurassic Park Pod. We're also on Facebook at Facebook.com/Jurassic Park Podcast, and our Instagram handle is at Jurassic Park Podcast. You can listen to us via iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, Podomatic, YouTube, our website, or wherever else podcasts are found. So make sure to subscribe to automatically get new episodes every week. If you haven't already, please give us a 5-star review in iTunes or a great review wherever you listen to the podcast. It will seriously help out our rankings and make it easier for fans like you to find us. We're usually spotted commenting on the Jurassic Park subreddit as Jurassic Park Podcast. Don't forget to check out JurassicParkPodcast.com for all the links you heard here today. If you want to get a hold of us, you can email us with any news stories, MP3s, segment ideas, top 5s, or comments to JurassicParkPod@gmail.com. Or you can submit questions directly on our website contact form. If you'd like to record something for the show, send it in to us and we'll feature it in an upcoming episode. If you don't have any way to record, you can give our voicemail line a call and leave us a message. That number is 732-825-7763. Thanks for listening, and enjoy.